Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are jumping into Dibby Pearl's Create a Better Brain Through Neuroplasticity, and we're zeroing in on chapters 11 through 15. Why? Because they're all about the teenage years, which are, well, they're pretty incredible and, yeah, often super challenging.
So, to really get a handle on what's at stake here, we're not going to start with a bunch of heavy science. Instead, let's start with a story, something that really puts a human face on this whole thing. Let's talk about a teenager named Benny. You know, this quote, it just cuts right to the heart of it, doesn't it? These were the words of Benny's parents. They watched the son they knew and loved just slipping away, and they had no idea why. And that's a fear I think a lot of parents can really understand.
I mean, just take a look at this timeline. At 14, Benny was your typical happy, engaged kid. And then, boom, just 2 years later, he's withdrawn, he's irritable, failing in school, he'd completely lost his motivation. That is a huge shift in a very, very short amount of time.
Okay, but here's where the story takes a turn, and it's the hopeful part. This wasn't a one-way street for Benny. By making some key changes to his daily habits and his surroundings, he made a complete turnaround. And this just goes to show you something really powerful. The brain can change, for better or for worse, especially during these teen years. So, Benny's story really makes you wonder, right? It begs the question, what in the world was going on inside his head to cause a change that drastic? And the answer, well, it lies deep inside the unique way a teenager's brain is wired.
So how is a teenager's brain so different? Well, for starters, it is absolutely not just a mini adult brain. A much better way to think about it is like a massive construction site. It's undergoing one of the biggest, most important remodels of its entire life.
And what's so fascinating is this fundamental mismatch that's going on. You've got the go system, that's the emotional, reward-seeking, impulsive part, and it's firing on all cylinders. But the stop system, the part that handles good judgment and impulse control, it's still being built. So you've got this supercharged engine, but the brakes, they're still the ones from a kid's bicycle. You can see how that might cause some problems, right?
And this is so crucial to get. This whole period of development, it's not just about risk. It's this massive, massive opportunity. The brain is more plastic, meaning it's more changeable than almost any other time in life. We have this unique window to help build it up and make it stronger.
So, how do we do it? Well, according to the book, these are the 4 cornerstones. You challenge the brain with new things, you make sure it gets the sleep it needs to repair itself, you build strong social ties, and you fuel it with good food and exercise. These are the absolute essential building blocks for a healthy, resilient teenage brain. But here's the flip side, because that same amazing brain plasticity, it works both ways. Just like we can build the brain up, there are things in our lives that can actively tear it down, making it, as the book says, shrink or just become way less effective. And yeah, if you look at this list, you'll see a lot of them are pretty much the exact opposite of what we just talked about. Things like constant stress, not getting enough sleep, and bad nutrition, they literally starve the brain of everything it needs to grow and thrive. Okay, so let's zoom in on one of these things, something really specific and unfortunately really common: concussions. This is a very real physical threat to a developing brain. And this is what's so scary about concussions. You can't see them. On the outside, a person can look totally fine, but on the inside, the damage can be really significant, and it can totally change their life. So, what is a concussion really? The book gives a pretty clear definition. It's what happens when your brain, which is super soft, gets slammed back and forth inside your skull, which is, well, it's a hard box. And you can see the chain reaction here. It starts with a physical hit. That causes the brain to move. That movement leads to actual chemical and physical damage to brain cells. And what's the end result? You can actually see it in changes to a teen's personality. And this right here is maybe one of the most important takeaways for any parent. If you see a sudden, really negative shift in your kid's personality or behavior, you have to consider that a physical injury, even one that seemed minor at the time, could be the actual cause. When you boil it all down, this is the message. This isn't just interesting science trivia. The book is making a pretty bold claim here, that understanding this stuff isn't just helpful. It could literally be one of the most important, life-saving tools you have. So let's wrap this up with one last question for you to think about. That brain plasticity we talked about, It means the brain is never finished. It's always being shaped. So the question isn't if your teen's brain is changing, it is, every single day. The real question is, how is it changing? And what choices can you make today to help build a better one?